Good evening and welcome to the next installment of our teacher interviews. Today, I am lucky to be joined by third grade teacher, Mr. Pat McGuire. Mr. McGuire, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well. How you all doing?
We're hanging in there. It's been a busy day. Lots of stuff going on at school, even though we're not at school, but
I
it's
hear you.
one day after another, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just trying to
So
remember what day it is, right? With the quarantine.
it is Wednesday,
It is Wednesday.
right? Yeah, okay.
I think so.
I'd look really smart if I didn't know the day of the week. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Those who don't know you will learn a lot more about you, hopefully, by the end of this interview. So, you ready?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, Pat, why don't you, for those who don't know you, give us a little bit of your background. And again, you can kind of go as far back as you'd like with that.
All right. Well, I won't go too far back, but I went to Floyd Central High School and graduated there in 1994. After high school, I was like a lot of high school kids. Maybe not a lot, but for me, I was just kind of a wanderer. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to college, so I took some time off. And then in the fall of '97, I went to I enrolled at Indiana University in Bloomington, and then graduated there in their business degree with a business degree in 2001. I met my wife there, Ricky, in '97 as well. We lived in the same dorm and had a lot of fun in college. Did some unique things. One of your trivia questions at one time, I did ride in the Little 500, which is kind of a famous Indiana University event.
Yeah, I got a text from a parent wanting me to ask you about the Little 500.
Well, we could talk about that a little bit. Of course, I did send you the picture of proof that I was actually on a team in a jersey. I won't wear that jersey anymore. Nobody needs to see that. So after graduating, I got into the golf business. I've always played golf really since I was super young and loved being around it. So I wanted to be a part of that, wanted to be a golf professional, not the kind that is out on tour, but the kind that kind of runs the business. And so I became the assistant golf pro at Valley View Golf Club. And I worked there for probably, 3.5 years. And then I did a small little stint renting cars at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Not my favorite job, but I did it. And then I went back in the golf business. So kind of, again, continuing with my wandering ways. But the golf business, the one good thing about the golf business that kind of made me learn about myself a little bit was that I enjoyed the teaching aspect. I loved giving lessons. I loved the kind of the working with whether it's kids or adults. I enjoyed it. Just kind of teaching, the learning aspect, all the things about it, the planning and everything. And so my brother, who'd been in education for quite some time then, I guess it was probably around 2008, I guess, somewhere around there. He said, "Hey, you like teaching so much. Why don't you look at at education?" And so I did, and I looked into IUS. Had a program called Transition to Teaching, which takes people that have their degree already and basically gets rid of those first few years classes since you've already done that, and then they kind of focus in on your teaching stuff. And so I did that, and then upon completion of that, and I guess it would be in fact, I remember it was a springtime of 2011 on Derby Day, actually. I was had interviewed with Miss Terry Horton for a position, kindergarten position, and interviewed with her. And on Derby Day, I'm riding. I'm working many jobs because at the time I didn't have a steady job. I was working like 3 jobs because I just got done student teaching. I got a call from her. I remember I'm driving a big old 15-passenger van from hotel to track and back and forth. and she calls me and offers me the job. So
Wow.
I, I do the whole, let me think about it. But of course I'm hanging up the phone and, screaming and hooting and hollering, and all the people in the back were quite funny at that time. Of course, you can imagine how they are in Derby time. So they were all doing fun, exciting stuff. I was staying responsible. But that was a kind of exciting time in my life. And then in the fall, I started at Our Lady, and been kind of a life-changing experience. My wandering days, I feel like, are kind of over. I know teaching's what kind of God has put me on the earth to do. I feel comfortable with it. I love doing it. I love hanging out with the kids and just kind of doing that teaching stuff. One of those things where I wish I would have started it 20 years ago.
Sure.
It's brought me, of course, being at Our Lady has been great too, because my family, before I started there, it was not Catholic. I was a Lutheran, very rarely went to church. And upon joining Our Lady as a faculty member, my wife and I decided that, hey, let's join the church. So we went through RCIA and became full members of the church. My children have been baptized into the church. So kind of, like I said, a life-changing experience being here at Our Lady. True believer that God puts you where you need to be. So that's kind of the long, short story, if you will.
Yeah, it's good. So you said you kind of were a wanderer for a while. So I've asked a few teachers this question. If you were able to go back and visit Pat McGuire on high school graduation day and told him that you were going to be one day a kindergarten and third grade teacher, what would he have thought?
The friends that know me, definitely they're laughing right now, but just because of me in high school, especially my graduation day. Quite frankly, I'm not sure that person probably would have laughed and just said something really stupid. Totally wasn't in my realm of possibilities in high school.
Yeah.
But again, I like to feel like I've improved, kind of like a fine wine. I've gotten better with age, and definitely a different person than I was in high school, probably for the very best. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. High school was high school for me. It's like that for most
everybody. Yeah. So if anybody's been past your classroom, and as you mentioned, you went to IU, you make no secret about your allegiance to that university.
Yep.
What would you say of your time at IU? What was your favorite sports memory from being a student at IU?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of them. I can remember, sports. Of course, the Little 500 for me personally was big. A funny kind of memory. My wife would enjoy this. So the way they did basketball, of course, basketball at Indiana is much more popular, if you will, than football. The year, I forget what year it was, whether it was 97, 98, 99, but you could probably look it up. Indiana was playing at home against Michigan State. Michigan State at the time was I think, number 1 or number 2 team in the nation. They're really, really good. And it's, of course, basketball, so it's a Big Ten season, so it's January, February in Bloomington. There's 6 inches of snow on the ground. Well, one of my part-time jobs while I was at school was working at the golf course. And since they sold merchandise, the golf course didn't really close during the winter. You weren't going to have any golfers, but somebody had to be at the golf shop. Well, I was low man on the totem pole, and so I got on the schedule for that day for that game. And the way they do tickets for students, at least they did it at the time, was you had to you put in for your tickets, and they basically you just got kind of luck of the draw, whether the Purdue game where you were going to get like 1 or 2 games down on the court where you were literally 5 rows from the floor. You get maybe 1 or 2 games in the main section, and they'd be mixed out. And then you get 3 games up in the balcony. Well, sure enough, every game, that I could go to, we were in the balcony or way up in the main section. Well, the one game we had that year for the floor was the Michigan State game. And famously, of course, my wife gets to go to that, and she uses my ticket to take a friend. And that was the year that Kurt Haston hit a 3-pointer to beat them. And of course, everyone's rushing the court, and I'm in the golf shop with 6 inches of snow. So maybe not my favorite memory, but it's a memory that's just a memorable one. A lot of good sporting memories. I'm a big football fan, so any football game being there, I actually enjoy football more than basketball, but still love it all the same. So that's probably the most memorable one.
Okay. Let me take you back. You had a picture on Facebook last week or recently of your first day in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Now you taught with Miss Balzer, correct?
Yes, Miss Balzer and I were hired together. We started, it was our very first day ever teaching.
What do you remember about that first day?
Well, the first thing I remember is, of course, just like anything, as when you have the high anticipation of an event, for me, that you get the butterflies. Didn't sleep real well. 1,000 things going on in my head, like, oh, what am I going to do here, here, and here? Probably practiced like what I was going to say 500 times. Although now I know once you get into it, you just might as well just go with whatever you're going to feel. But just real nervous, super nervous, and was even more nervous with all the parents in there. The kids didn't bother me. It's the parents that you worry about, at least that I worried about. And then probably the other feeling is that after that, later that evening, I can remember school got over, like always around 2:45, 3, and it was probably like 5:30, and Brandy and I are just working, and finally we're both mentally beat. Of course, when you build up that expectation, the anxiety, the stress level goes up. Once it's done, your body has some kind of a release, and you're just really, super tired. And so we were both really beat. And I can remember coming home and going back into the bedroom, and literally, if you've seen the movie Kindergarten Cop with Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's a scene where he literally comes back from school one of the days and falls over face first, in real slow motion. I did one of those. I was out probably at 7 o'clock. I remember thinking, I don't want to go back. Like, what horrible decision did I make with my life? This is going to be the worst. I can't imagine doing 2 more days of this, much less a career of this. And of course, it got better the next day and the next day. And I, up for at least a couple years, never really talked to Miss Balzer about that at all. And then one day in talking, we were just chatting, like, hey, this is, I can remember how I felt. And lo and behold, she was having some very similar feelings that after that first day. I think she even told me she may or may not have looked up a nursing job because she was that distraught after that first day. Not to say the kids were bad or anything. It was just until you're in the classroom and they're yours, teaching's a unique experience. I will say that with this virus and everything, I definitely think it's brought to light, kind of some of the challenges teachers make, they have, because I've seen it on Facebook all over the place, families like, man, I don't see how teachers do this. I've only got one of these at home. I only got one kid at home. And, at that year we had 40 kids.
Wow.
So 40 kids in one room was a little intense. And of course, kindergartners.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have something planned every second, they literally were crawling on the ceiling and walls. So good times.
How many years did you do kindergarten?
I did 4 years. I did 4 years at kindergarten, and then moved to 3rd grade. And this is wrapping up my 5th year of 3rd grade.
So it's been kind of cool, probably, because I bet you've had some kids twice now, haven't you?
I have. In fact, this year was the first year of kids that I hadn't had before.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed, having some. It's kind of neat to see, how much they grow maturity-wise and just academically from that kindergarten year to the 3rd grade year. So that was kind of neat.
If you want, let's talk 3rd grade a little bit. What what are the major events in third grade? And you can kind of take this wherever you want, kind of things personally that you look forward to, but just kind of in general for the kids. What should mention Miss White, who's, unfortunately having to end her time at Our Lady in this odd area. But what do you guys try to do? What are your goals for your third graders by the time they're ready to become fourth graders?
Well, I can't necessarily speak for Miss White. I think we have the same overall kind of idea. But for me, my goal has always been to build a solid relationship with the students. Any student that comes through my classroom, they know I like to have fun. I like to kind of ham it up, if you will, with them. We still get our stuff done educationally, but I'm a firm believer that a kid that's having fun in the classroom is going to learn a whole lot better and be more interested versus someone who's not having fun.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it as lighthearted as possible. So just to make sure that they're having fun. And again, I like to build the relationships with the kids, whether they're my class all the way down to preschool all the way up to 8th grade. If I'm walking the hall and I see someone, I always try to smile, say hi, maybe pass out some candy here and there. I do like to pass out the candy.
I stop by often for a little sugar pick me up.
And just stuff like that. I mean, I feel like I'm a third grader in a teacher's body, if you will, right? I mean, like, I can have fun with the kids. We love to do, like in my class, we love to do our skits to learn vocab words, acting silly like that. Our field trips are always fun. It's kind of a bummer not getting to go to Squire Boone this spring. Compliment parties, all that stuff. And then of course just the normal school stuff. And again.
Yeah, because in third grade, you got I read starts, I learn starts, kind of the big time stuff.
Yeah, and again, I always tell them from day one, when that stuff comes around, that not only will they be ready, but I'm not too worried about their scores. Those are just stuff to show up what they know and kind of show off a little bit. But I think most educators would probably agree that most standardized tests, while they will tell you a kind of a brief kind of summary of what a kid might know, it's still just a 1 or 2 day test. Some kids are test takers, some aren't. I could tell you more about where my are after a week or 2 in the classroom than that test's ever going to tell. So,
well, I think that it's obviously we want them to do well. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But it's more than that. You're right. I mean, the stuff they get each and every day outweighs, in my opinion, whatever those tests say.
Absolutely. But those are big kind of hurdles, if you will. So we did get the pass on those hurdles this year. I would gladly take those hurdles.
Sure. But last year, I mean, I think third grade across the board had the highest scores in the entire building. If you want to brag on that.
Yeah, and I think we were pretty high in the deanery as far as math goes. So that was all Miss White. That wasn't me. But no, we you know what? That's another thing though. Those test scores that we get, those aren't just reflective of our teaching. Those are reflective of kindergarten, first grade,
Absolutely.
preschool, everyone in the building, creating that environment. And then, those are building blocks. Everything we teach has been built from the ground up. And so we just kind of add on, if you will.
Absolutely. In addition to your duties at Our Lady, I see you got your Providence golf shirt on. You are now a men's and women's golf coach. Am I right on that?
Yeah. So, Coach Victor Beeler, his son Victor and oldest daughter Maddie are at Providence, and his youngest Abigail is in 6th grade at Our Lady. And so, 3 years ago, something like that, we took over as the boys program. And then this past winter, I guess, the former coach retired and moved on. And so it was kind of a natural progression that, we were like, hey, we'll do it. It's in the fall. And the powers that be over at Providence said, yeah, why not? Let's just make it simple. And so, yeah, that starts up. We found out, I guess normally there's a dead period that we're not allowed to kind of work with athletes. But because of all this, as long as there's no big things coming down the road from the governor or anything else, I think it's July 1st. We're going to be allowed to start working with kids, and our first official girls practice is the 31st of July, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
so yeah, we're looking forward to that. We met with our Coach Wheeler and I met with our two seniors that are currently on the roster. They're both Our Lady alums, Lily Chapman and Reese Bodorf. And they're super excited about us coming on. We're super excited. They did say they need some freshman players coming in. So any of my 8th grade girls, Emma Chapman, I'm talking to you. But any of my 8th grade girls, if you want to get out there and play a good sport, a sport you can play for a long, long time. I mean, I'm an old man and I can still play it. Plus, it's a fun game. And for your parents, it's one of the least used scholarships in all of NCAA sports, girls golf. So you want a little money for college, pick up the sticks, go out and play with mom or dad, and we could use you. We could definitely use some freshmen.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, Mr. McGuire. Are you? I've got a few audience questions and some lightning round. You think you're up for it?
Yeah, I've nothing else to do today right now.
All right, Miss Lola Grace, who I know you're familiar with.
Lola, she's a big IU fan.
She would like to know what your favorite candy is.
Favorite candy? You know, it's funny. I pass out candy, but I'm not a huge sweet person.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
I'm not. I guess candy bar. I'm a big. I do like whatchamacallits. Those are pretty good.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, with 3 kids in my house, if any candy comes home with me, it's kind of rare that I actually get to try any. Right? So, but no, I'd say whatchamacallits, Reese's Cups, Reese's Pieces. Yeah. Those would be right up there as well. Okay. So yeah.
Her brother Harrison would like to know what sports you played in high school.
Okay. I did not, surprisingly enough, I did not play golf in high school. Our team at the time, I can remember my junior and senior year, they were pretty good. You had to be really, really good to play. And I just kind of started. They had won, I think they either won the state championship or was like runner-up my senior year. So they were really good. So I didn't play golf. I did play football. And I was just a mediocre player. I wasn't that big. Even though as big as I am now, I was probably same height and only about 150 pounds as a senior. I'm not sure what happened after high school, but I got on a special diet and put on a few pounds. I guess that happens. I played baseball my freshman year, and let's see what else. I tried wrestling one time. My brother wrestled all the time. I tried that once, and then the second practice, this guy flipped me, and his elbow kind of went through my chest, and I think I felt his elbow like touch my spine, and that was enough for me. So basically, mainly football was my biggest one.
Okay. An anonymous sender wants to know who is older, you or Mr. Stimley.
Well, even though I may look it, Stimley is much my elder.
Much your elder.
Much older. Yeah, I'm still comfortably in my 40s. Comfortably, I've got some several. He's not even in his 40s, so we'll just throw that out there. I mean, he's probably closer to AARP than I am of getting to his age.
Should we worry about him being upstairs? Should we flip the classroom so you have to walk the steps?
You might need to move that chairlift down on his wing so he has some help getting up there.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We'll look into that this summer.
Always looking after him.
I'm sure he's watching, don't you think?
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. All right. Texting or talking?
Ooh, it depends. I like talking, especially if there's any sort of like problem, like not having an issue with any parents or parents are having an issue with me. I'd rather just talk to them.
Yep.
If I'm just having fun and kind of just back and forth, I like texting. I like throwing some memes out there and some. I don't know if the GIFs, is that what you call it?
You're pretty good when I send out a faculty email by responding,
yeah.
something like that.
So
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff, but I'd say probably talking if possible.
Okay. Do you have a nickname, or did you have a nickname as a child, young man?
As a child, no. Nothing as a child. I used to write my name when I was real little. I used to, instead of Pat, I used to write it backwards, Tap. But that really didn't stick. High school, I probably had some nicknames, but we just don't even want to talk about those. No, nothing really. I've just
I'll have to come up with one.
good old Pat. Yeah, I mean, if I had one, I'd probably go with Bruno, but I've heard
That's taken.
I've heard that's taken. So
Yeah. Yeah. Huh, interesting.
I don't know who.
Favorite holiday?
Definitely Thanksgiving. All right.
Okay.
Kind of starts the holiday. Of course, nowadays, Christmas season starts in like here in a week. Walmart will have stuff out, but when I grew up, you got Thanksgiving, and then that kind of kicked off the whole holiday season. And of course, if you might not have guessed it, I do kind of like to eat. And Thanksgiving dinner, I can still remember it being at my grandma's house and having the big bird and all the trimmings and everything. That's my favorite meal of the year. At Our Lady, I know Sandy does a great job in the lunchroom, and she always tries to do a Thanksgiving meal. That's one meal she can always count on Mr. McGuire ordering in the lunchroom.
You have a favorite season of the year?
Yeah, I do. I like fall. I like the colors. I don't know. I've always been an outdoorsy kind of, like being out, kind of the opposite of Miss Barley. I don't think she likes going outside at all. I like being outside. I like the colors of everything. And then the fall, of course, just the brilliant colors. So fall would be probably fall, then spring.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver do you consider yourself to be? Now, you mentioned you had to dropping people off at the Derby. You recently followed me during the marathon, 24-hour marathon. So
Yeah.
where are your driving skills?
Right. So we're talking automobile driving, right?
Yes.
Wow. I don't know. I feel like I'm a very conservative driver.
Have you ever had a speeding ticket?
I've had a couple speeding tickets. Yeah, I actually have. I've had one accident in my life when I was in high school. Again, being silly and looking like somewhere else, and totally ran into someone. But knock on wood, I feel like I'm fairly safe. I don't know. I'd probably put it at like a 7 or 8 as far as
Solid.
me on the road. Now if you're talking, hey, let's throw them on a racetrack. I don't know. I probably would wuss out going really fast. So I don't know, but 7 or 8, somewhere around there.
Okay. I know you're in a big Disney family. So do you have a favorite Disney princess?
Besides you, Mr. Bile, I would say, man.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. I've always liked Jasmine from Aladdin.
There you go.
Small connection. Braden will love me, my 8th grader, Braden. One of our first trips ever being there, Braden, as a young child, had an accident with one of those big concrete fountains. It fell on his finger and crushed the tip of his finger. And we had like 3 surgeries. He had 2 pins in it, and it was, for a while there, we weren't even sure he was going to be able to keep the tip of his finger. But anyway, we're there at Disney. He's got this big old cast on with the pins sticking out, and We were waiting in line for Jasmine, and she saw his finger hit her and the prince, whatever his name
Whatever
is.
his name is, who knows?
You know, really, when Jasmine's there, like, who cares about who's around? So anyway, she looks at, oh, what happened to your finger? And of course, he at the time, I think he was maybe 5 or 6, 7, I don't know, real young. And she gives him a big old kiss on the forehead, and of course they cake on the makeup, so it left this big old red lips on his forehead, and he's walking around big cheesy the rest of the day. And so I kind of and I'd always liked the movie Aladdin, so I would go with Jasmine, Princess White. My favorite, I guess, if you will, I'm not even sure it's considered a female character, would be Tinkerbell, though. I like Tinkerbell, but she's not a princess, I don't think.
You have to ask your wife on that one. I don't know. Yeah. Place you would most like to travel to if you could travel right now, where would you be?
Well, I've always wanted to. I love going to the beach, but I've been to beaches before. I've always wanted to go over and travel Europe and like Scotland. I'm a big history fan, and I've always been a fan, not a fan, but just someone who wants to learn a lot about World War II. So going over to those areas and visiting like Normandy and stuff like that would be kind of cool. Golfing wise, the home of golf, going to see and play St. Andrews. A lot of those courses would be super cool. So if you can start a GoFundMe account, maybe we can.
Hey, it's Teacher Appreciation Week,
And I could always use a chaperone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Can't let you out of the country on your own. Yeah.
No, that's not advisable.
Yeah. Is double dipping at a party ever acceptable?
Double dipping. Again, back to Braden. Braden, his answer would definitely be no, not at all.
Okay.
It just depends at what time the double dipping occurs in said party. I mean, early on, probably not a good thing. Later on, I may not care.
Speaking of food, what's for dinner tonight at the McGuire house?
Well, thanks to the Christmas family, yesterday they brought by some pizzas. Of course, yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, and so I had this grandiose plan of a bunch of Mexican food, and then the pizzas came, which, not complaining, that's great. I didn't have to cook. So tonight, Cinco de Mayo at the McGuire household got pushed to today. So I don't know what's 6 in Spanish, whatever that is, de Mayo.
6 de Mayo.
6 de Mayo, new holiday. So
I'm a Spanish teacher wife, so I had to get that one right.
There you go.
Yeah. Speaking of wives, are men or women more complicated?
Wow. I mean, there's a connection problem with it. I didn't hear your question. What did you say? I'm pleading the fifth on that one.
Okay. Mr. McGuire, I know you're a coffee drinker. Since the advent of e-learning, has your coffee intake increased or decreased?
The coffee drinking, really, that drinking hasn't done much. It's about the same. About 2 cups in the morning, pretty regular on that.
Okay. All right. In the showers, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hot do you like your water? 10 being scalding hot, 1 being ice cold.
Random question there. I'm going to go with a 7 or 8. I don't like it too hot. Okay. But it depends. If I've just played golf in 110 degrees heat, it's cold. So, and again, you're painting a visual picture that a lot of people don't really want to think about right now.
I shouldn't even ask this one because I think I know the answer. When is the last time you stayed up past 4 in the morning?
Past 4. Honestly, it's the first time in probably about, I don't know, a long time. But yeah, a few weeks ago, I watched some awesome idiot run 26 miles. But my favorite though was the next day on the news or whatever that local principal runs a marathon, sort of. Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, and they forgot the point 2, right? I mean, that point 2 is important.
Point 2, exactly. That was the hard part. In a karaoke competition with your wife, who would win?
She's a really good singer. She doesn't give herself credit.
Yeah.
She would say me, but just because she's kind of humble in that. But I think she would. It depends the song.
Yeah.
It really does. It depends. If it's like Disney song, she's pretty good though. She's pretty good at like church kind of songs. I don't know. I might get her though with like Pearl Jam or some heavy metal. I can belt those out. Little Guns N' Roses. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Last one, easy one. What is your middle name?
Patrick.
Really? First
Yeah.
name?
No, you only get one question. Patrick. No, it's my first name's Kenneth.
Okay. Have you always gone by Pat?
Yeah, my grandfather was named Kenneth, so my mom named me after Kenneth, and I'm not really sure where the Patrick came from. She could probably tell you. She's probably mad at me that I don't know. But yeah, Kenneth Patrick McGuire, that's me.
All right. Well, Kenneth Patrick McGuire, you have survived the interview. Thank you for joining us. And as we always do, if you want to say hello to your class, hello to your kids, please give them a shout out here. And we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. To my kids in the classroom, I miss you guys. I hope we can see each other soon. Maybe sometime in June or July, we'll do something together as a class and kind of wrap up the year. That's about it. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I appreciate you coming on, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, y'all.